one needs the seas to be wetter. We don't need all our cheese to be cheddar. Our only needs to get better and better and better and better.
Hi, everyone. This is Jessica Jake. I'm here with Jodie Solberg today. She's from psychedupsuccess.com. She's a certified master hypnotherapist and a certified mental wellness coach. I'm so excited to have you here and hear what you're up to.
Thanks so much, Jessica. I appreciate you having me on today. I'm excited to share more about just mental wellness in general and how we can really promote that in our lives and take better care of ourselves.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm super fascinated by hypnotherapy. And as you know, I just had my very first regression hypnotherapy with you, which was really, really super interesting. And yes, I want to understand like how you got into all this and how you help people, and how you talk about hypnotherapy, especially for people who don't quite understand it, don't think they'd ever want to try it, but what those benefits are.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I would love to share. So I have actually been in the coaching and the therapy spaces for over 20 years now. And my background is social and clinical psychology. And so way back about 22 years ago, when I was in grad school, I actually was starting out and they said, hey, what kind of modalities do you want to use as a therapist? What do you want to do? How do you want to help people? And hypnotherapy was at the top of my list. And so, for me, I knew that the cognitive and behavioral therapies, there's a wide range of those, can be really effective to help people to change those thoughts and those behavior patterns. But I also knew that I didn't believe that people needed to talk in circles around the same thing for the next 6 years. I really wanted them to be able to get to the root cause of what was going on and be able to help them and guide them through making those changes as quickly as possible to make that positive impact on their lives and create real and lasting change. Not just something where it's going to go right back to those old habits and patterns after a month or two. So that's really how I got started in hypnotherapy, as I was very clinically trained back then. And so during that time, as I was a baby therapist and learning, I also actually started my own business on the side because going to school is really expensive. And so I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur and have some flexibility and make some money to pay off those student loans. And so I became a coach and I was working with women in business. And I ran those two separate parts of my career for a really long time. And my background as far as therapy work goes, I started off working with people with trauma. I was working with adults as well as children, families, people who were dealing with abuse and going through divorce or custody issues. And then I moved in to working with people with drug and alcohol addictions and convictions for over about 10 years. And so it was something that was really important to me to do that work with people who had been dealing with so much heaviness and addictions and traumas and these problems that we can all experience in our lives. But on the side, when I was working with women in their businesses, getting started and building businesses, what I found is we're all the same. We all have challenges, right? Mentally and emotionally and in our relationships and in our past that still affect us. And so with those women I was working with in their businesses, they were dealing with the issues mentally with self-doubt or imposter syndrome or things that were affecting them with their negative self-talk or limiting beliefs. And a lot of them had past traumas and hurts that they were still dealing with, or they had unhealthy coping skills and habits that they were wanting to change. And so what I ended up doing with Psyched Up Success is I decided I wanted to make a big lifestyle shift for myself. I was kind of burnt out working with a lot of people who didn't necessarily want to always be there. I worked with a lot of court-ordered clients in my career, and so they didn't always want to do the work to change. Whereas on my coaching side, they did. They really wanted to be able to do that. And so I put my two worlds together and I decided that I wanted to help people who wanted to make those changes and to do that work. And hypnotherapy, because it has been something that I've believed in since the very beginning of my career. And so I was able to put those two worlds together with the mental wellness coaching that I'm doing now and my hypnotherapy practice to be able to really help people to get to those causes. And when you're talking about, what hypnotherapy is, I do feel like a lot of people just see what's on TV or in movies, and they have no idea what it really, really means. And so there's a lot of people out there who are hesitant, or they don't know, they've never experienced that. And so for those people, I think what's really important is to realize that it's a completely natural process. You're just in a deep meditative state. And so how I explain it to people is, if you think about just, closing your eyes and relaxing, if you've ever meditated, if you've ever gone to a yoga class, in the last 5 minutes of yoga class, your instructor has you lay on your mat, you close your eyes and you pay attention to your breathing, and you're in your body, but you're very aware of what's going on. If the teacher's walking around, you can just tell, you can feel that. Or let's say when you first go to sleep, you're first waking up and you're aware, you can hear what's going on. You can hear the dog needs you to get up to go outside, or you can hear someone talking in the other room, and you're just in that more relaxed state still. Right? It's very much like that. Or if you go to Costco and on the way home, you kind of zone out, right? You think about what you're going to make for dinner when you get home, or what's on the to-do list for the next day, or you're daydreaming about something, and magically you're home. And you're like, oh, I didn't even consciously realize all the turns I made, but your subconscious knows how to get you home. And so we go in and out of that natural state throughout our lives, throughout our days. And so the only difference is that I'm guiding someone into that deep relaxation where we can tap into their subconscious mind and their own inner wisdom. So people get worried when you say, hypnosis and hypnotherapy, that they're going to be out of control. And that is not the case at all. They actually are more self-aware, and they're very much in control. A lot of times we are in autopilot mode a lot of our lives. And so increasing your self-awareness and tapping into that part of your mind that sometimes is hard to tap into in your conscious awareness when you're just completely awake and running around, it can be really challenging to access things like your imagination and your creativity and some of those past experiences that are affecting us, and to really have that perspective to see how they are blocking us from doing the things that we want to do in our lives. And so I'm helping to guide people into that relaxed state, into that state of hypnosis, again, totally natural, to find their own answers so that they can heal and they can make the changes in their own lives. And so it's a very natural, holistic approach, and it's going to help confirm who you are. Right? Get to know yourself better. And I always think if you can get to know yourself and the way you work better, that's a huge step towards making those changes that you want to make. And I think the key word there is hypnotherapy. And so it's not what you see on stage. It's not what you see on TV or at the fair or anything like that. It's using that deeper, relaxed, hypnotic state for therapeutic purposes, to help people heal, to help people with their mental and emotional and even physical challenges, and to change unhealthy habits. And so that's what I would say is a good introductory description of what hypnotherapy is all about, and that it's not daunting at all. If you find someone who's professionally trained that you can feel really comfortable and safe with, then it's going to work for you and it's going to help you.
So hypnotherapist, not just hypnotist.
Correct. Yeah, there is a different, because there's stage hypnotists, right, that will be for show on the street or at the fair, something like that. And hypnotherapy is very different because we're using those therapeutic methods and approaches in that state, and it's helping people heal. It's not for entertainment. And people worry, like, am I gonna do something weird that I would normally never do? And the answer is no. You're not going to do anything that's against your morals, values, or ethics. You can just reject anything that doesn't resonate with you. If it's not in alignment with who you are, guess what? You're not going to do it. And I don't tell anybody as a hypnotherapist what to do, what to think, how to act, what to feel, what to believe. It really is all coming from within them. I'm literally just facilitating. I'm just the guide here. And it's all about them finding those answers, like I said, from within. It's not about being told what to do.
Yeah, I've had an experience too where I was listening to a hypnosis that someone I knew had made, and I was in that nice, deep, hypnotic state. And then he said something that was incorrect. And I woke up like with a jolt.
Yep.
Like, no, that's not true. And so, yeah, I don't think he was trying to implant anything in my brain. I think he was just like telling a story or a narrative, but what he was saying was just not true. And my brain was just like, that's wrong. And so you are I always hear all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, right? Like, no one's going to mess with your mind like in the cartoons.
No. And you're absolutely right. If there's anything that is ever said, that somebody would say that does not align or resonate with you and who you are and doesn't feel true to you, you will just reject it. Like you said, you will come right out. And what I do is very client-centered hypnotherapy. And so I don't do a lot of just what they call suggestions, where I'm telling you those things without using your words. Okay. So for example, when I'm working with a client individually, I'm using their wording. So I might ask them if they want to change a habit. Let's say they want to stop smoking or drinking or emotional eating or whatever it is, right? What are the benefits of that for you? I'll ask them ahead of time. And then those are the words I'll use so that it does align, because it's their words, it's their goals. It's not anything having to do with what I think that they should do or want them to do. It's all about what is going to be the most effective for them, and what's most effective for you is what you want and what you believe is going to be the benefit and the reasons why you want to do that. And so, yeah, it is definitely something where, like you said, if you hear something that does not resonate with you, you can wake up. If the fire alarm goes off, you can get up and run. So yeah, you'll be completely in control in that way. And I always tell people too, if there's anything you don't want to tell me, you don't have to. And even under hypnosis, you can stop and choose not to share that. And that's okay.
Did you ever see Dr. Rock put this out, Dr. David Rock? It was, I don't think it was his study, but he included it in what he was writing, that they basically showed you don't really have free will, you have free won't, because your subconscious mind is deciding for you before you consciously think you came up with it yourself. And they did that by saying, when you see this light come on, you're going to decide if you're going to use your left or right hand. I might be making this up, but something along these lines. And so when the people thought that they were deciding left or right, they could show that a different part of their brain had already been prepping the muscles. So the subconscious already knew, we're going to pick this side. And so it was just an interesting thing. And it's so cool. Like what you were saying, I 100% agree. It's like the most effective thing you could do is to work at those lower levels of the brain versus, I think you said, talk in circles for 6 years versus,
Yes.
Actually direct communication in your own voice with your own wishes, and your subconscious is not going to get down with anything that doesn't make sense for you anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So the goal is to get your subconscious on board with what your conscious goals are. And so if you've ever set a goal for yourself and you said, okay, I'm going to do this, and then there's that little part of you in the back of your mind that's like, no, you can't. What makes you think you can do that? You didn't do that before. What makes you think you can now? Right. So it really is amazing to use hypnotherapy to tap into that part of yourself that maybe is just trying to protect you. For example, maybe you had a bad experience previously and your subconscious is like, nope, don't want to feel that way again. And so sometimes it will keep you from doing things you really want to do or achieving those things that you want to achieve. And so we can help to tap into that part of you to say, okay, where is that coming from? Where is that little voice coming from? What was that previous experience? And then to reconcile that, to process through it and say, okay, I can do this, I can work through this, and to have that part of your mind, all the parts, right, on board. And so it really is incredible. Like you said, those things we don't even realize consciously are going on subconsciously before we answer or before we make those choices. And so if you can tap into that and have higher self-awareness about those processes that are happening, you can make those changes a lot faster and they can stick.
Right. And that's way more efficient than free won't, because it's all aligned. It's going to be right on track. So yeah, I love the efficient stuff. It's super cool. Neat.
Yeah.
And I know you do regression to past lives as well. Are there any stories that really stand out to you of things you found with your clients?
Yeah, so I'm trained in regressions of all kinds. And so current life, past life, all of those things. And it's really amazing because what I found, and I will tell you that regardless, whether you're, going back into your current life or you're envisioning a past life, there's always the lesson there. And that's the thing that always stands out to me is there's always a beautiful lesson to be found, even in, past events that, may have been negative at the time, that are, traumatic, for example. There's a ripple effect that happens, right? And again, that's what happens in our subconscious is we have those subconscious memories. They're like, this happened before. And so now I want to avoid that. I want to avoid that pain. And we're always trying to move toward pleasure and avoid pain. Or, sometimes it's even painful to stay where we are, but our subconscious thinks it's less painful than to try something else. And so we can go back and find out, where did that come from? Where did that fear or that phobia come from? Or where did that resistance come from? And we can really go through and appreciate and be grateful for the lessons that we learned. Sometimes we figure out going back into the past of how strong we truly are, or those connections that we're so grateful for, or, what is our life's purpose, or what was that lesson that I was meant to learn in this life or another. And so it's really incredible to be able to go back and recognize those things. It's hard. Sometimes I call it the snow globe of our life. When we're right in the middle of it, the snow globe, if you shake it up, there's the blizzard. And when we're in the middle of the blizzard, sometimes it's hard to see from that outside perspective. And so with regression, we can see it from this outside perspective, looking in this time and see potentially, with the knowledge and wisdom and everything that we've gained since then, look at it with fresh eyes. So whether you're looking into childhood with what you know now and how you've grown since then, and you can appreciate now how you survived through the things that you survived through, or you're looking, further back into the past, and you can see some common themes, some core themes of, these are the lessons that I'm meant to learn, and this is why I'm here, and this is my purpose. It's really special. So I always say that the thing that always stands out to me is it's kind of like a Disney movie. There's always a moral to the story. There's always something that we can learn, no matter, how good or how bad. It's really just looking for that and then taking that and incorporating it into how you're going to move forward in this life.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I kind of look at it less as like meant to learn, but like you learn something, right? Like, so that life isn't really a punishment, or these bad things don't happen so you could learn something, that it might be more just bad luck. I was reading a book, you probably read it. I wish I know his name. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, Dr. Brian Weiss, MD, and then one of the stories he's saying, I guess it was back in Roman times, that someone like for fun was dragging this man around on a rope and accidentally killed him. And so it's like, and I guess in his future lives, he had, different things that kind of take him back to there. But it's like, you could learn something from that, but like, was it really that you were meant to learn that? Like, you have a purpose, but sometimes things just get messed up because of circumstance, other people, just, statistics, probability of something bad kind of happening. Because I don't know, that's just the way I look at it, versus like all of that is part of some grander plan, all the torture is part of some.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some bad things. And so I always say, I don't really like the saying everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But I do say, everything that happens, there's a lesson we can learn out of it. So doesn't necessarily mean, because there are some horrible, like you said, things that happen to people. And I'm not going to tell somebody that, oh, it's part of this grand plan and everything happened for a reason necessarily. But I will say that no matter what happens, like there's something we can learn and move forward with out of it. And so, what is that?
Right. Yeah. And then if they didn't learn it in one lifetime, it's another life, kind of the
Yeah.
same thing happening, or they do the exact opposite because in the last life they've learned that it wasn't a good idea to like marry
Mhm.
instead of love or whatever it was. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that. I talk about that a lot because sometimes, like you said, we either repeat the patterns or, how we're raised or what's happened to us in the past, will go the opposite. So it's always interesting because, there's sometimes that level of, well, now I know I want to do the opposite of that because this happened to me.
Yeah.
And so either way, we can get something out of that, but sometimes it does take multiple times to learn that lesson, but we can always change. That's the beauty of it, is you can always pivot. Even if you have been circling this habit or this pattern, for decades, you can make a choice today to shift that, to, change that. And there is a ripple effect that happens when you do, and you decide that now you're going to break the pattern, whether it's a generational pattern, an ancestral pattern, like a pattern in your life. You can change that. And I think that's really empowering. And so that's the other thing about hypnotherapy I find, is that it's a very empowering experience for people.
Yeah. And what you did in my session too, you said something about if you don't like being in the scene, you could float above it. And I was having a dream, and it might have been because we had met that now I was having a dream of like, who knows if this was a past life or just a spirit. But all these men were dying and they were getting sick and dying. I think they were all poisoned. And I was like right there. And I was just like, I want to go above this. And so then I was like at a window looking down, and I was doing like Reiki out the window, like, I hope you could heal, or, transition to where you're going in the most loving way possible if you're not going to make it. But it was fascinating because it's like, I'm going to say a trick for lack of a better word, like a shift in perspective that you could use while you're in hypnosis, so it's not scary. Also, it was something that helped me while I'm in the dream state. So I thought that was fantastic. Yeah.
I'm so glad. Yeah, that's just such a good tool or resource to be able to use for yourself. Because when I'm working with people who, have PTSD or dealt with trauma, you don't have to go in and relive it. Like you said, there are ways that you can separate yourself so that you're not right in that pain and that fear and things again. And yeah, that is a good tool. So I'm so glad that you're able to use that, like you said, in that dream state, to remember that you don't have to be in the pain and in the trauma and in that circumstance, that you could separate yourself out from it mentally. And then, like you said, then you were able to send some healing energy back in, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting dream. I don't usually have dreams like stuff like that. So it was definitely an in your face kind of situation. I was just like, let's get this out of my face.
Yes, yeah, that was a good way to use it for sure. And yeah, dreams are fascinating. There are so many different manifestations in our minds of what dreams can be. And so that's something I actually work with clients, quite a bit of, what does that represent? And sometimes, honestly, it's a mishmash of what you watched on TV before you went to bed and life experiences. But, our dreams are a way for our brains to process through in our subconscious, right? To process through and make sense of and kind of file away all of the things that have happened to us. And so, yeah, it can be interesting. We can go on some journeys in our dreams sometimes.
Oh, that's a lot of work. You wake up. A lot of work, but yeah, no, I love, and it is another efficient way to get to the bottom of stuff for yourself, especially if you get into lucid dreaming, and you could do shadow work while you're sleeping. And again, why take 6 years talking about it when you could have one lucid dream and hug your shadow or what have you. So I love this stuff. It's so fascinating. That's so cool. I love how in your career you had these two things going on and then you decided to merge them. And when you said people are people, or you're like, we all have this. I mean, it's just, it's so true, right? And so no matter who you're working with, they're all going to benefit from dealing with that inner world and not just that outer goal for themselves. So what kind of so are you still doing business coaching, or is it strictly the mental wellness coaching, but sometimes their goals now are business related?
Yeah, they can be. I mean, I have a unique perspective. So if someone does have a business, I definitely have been there and I understand it. And I've built businesses very sustainably and then sometimes unsustainably when I went through my own burnout. And so I can relate to my clients who, are really focused on career and business goals and things of that nature. But typically, when I'm talking about business, I'm usually working with people personally, and then that's just a part, again, of who they are because we're whole people. I also will team up with some business coaches that are specifically, that's what they do, and they do strategy and messaging and things of that nature, and I'll come in and do that mindset and mental wellness piece with them. Because typically when you're looking at hiring a business coach or going into a coaching program, they may have like one mindset module, they spend an hour on it or something. And typically, most of us are going to have some deeper things where that might not be enough. So I have a lot of business coaches now that will refer to me and say, I have a client who has some deeper things going on, whether that's from the past or with relationships or creating, challenges with work-life harmony and making things work, doing all of the things. And so I'm happy to work with people on that. And then I have some great business coaches that I work with. And so now it's more on the mental wellness side. But like I said, I have that business coaching experience and my own entrepreneurial experience for so long that, I can definitely relate. But not all of my clients have businesses. And so, it really shifted a lot too. I think over COVID, a lot of people started working from home. So whether or not they had their own business. And that was a big change for a lot of people. Like, how do I set this up? And how do I have boundaries for myself when I'm working from home? And how do I handle my family when I'm working from home? And how do we all get along when we're working from home? And so, those were things that I was dealing with a lot. And still now a lot of people are in that hybrid world where they do a lot more from home. They might go into the office sometimes. I'm in the Seattle area, and now a lot of companies are starting to ask people to go back to work a few days a week. And so, I'm always dealing with that work-life harmony piece to help people to take all of the pieces of their lives and blend them together, whether it's your own business or you're working for someone else, or you're transitioning into staying home and being a parent or retiring. Everyone goes through that in all different seasons of their life. And so I feel like being able to have those skills and tools and resources to pull from has helped me be able to have a more unique approach to how I work with my clients. So it's on that mindset and mental wellness, but it's also dealing with their whole life.
Yeah, and that you really are a therapist is great, because I think unfortunately a lot of people who are life coaches or some kind of specialty coach don't really stay in their scope of practice and start to venture into things that probably they shouldn't be, really for real legally. I'm not even going to say in my opinion, but will actually have the tool set to like really handle whatever comes up.
Yeah. And I think it is important to know what's outside your scope, because we can't all do everything. Right. And so I really appreciate and respect those coaches that I work with that will say, I recognize that this is more than what I can handle or what I want to deal with. And so, having good referral sources and knowing that one person isn't going to be the fix all, right? If you're on the client side, it's important to know that there's different coaches for different things, and different people have different strengths and different wheelhouses. And so to know that it's important to create a whole support system for yourself, and have coaches and about different things, or trainers and therapists, and, to be able to have a well-rounded approach for yourself to make sure you're getting the support in all the areas that you need. Because what I found when I was working with people in business and I wasn't their therapist, then what would happen is I would see them get so frustrated and so upset and so down on themselves, really judging themselves about why can't I get myself to do the things I know I need to do to reach my business or my career goals. And it wasn't that there was anything wrong with them. They were just trying to either fit themselves into someone else's model of what success should be or look like, or strategy that didn't align with who they were, or you just had things that they hadn't dealt with yet and that they needed to process through and release before they could do that. And so that's one big piece that I work on with people is, that stop the comparing, stop the self-judgment, really get to know who you are and how you work and what your strengths are and what's going to be the best for you to reach your definition of success, to release a lot of those pressures and expectations that other people put on us. And then also to realize that sometimes there's things we have to deal with before we get there, because we read a book that says you have to get up at 5 a.m. every morning. And then all the people who aren't morning people are beating themselves up because they hate getting up at 5 a.m. and it's not working. And it's like, well, maybe that's not you, and that's okay. And so I caution people about that. Like you said, having one person be a fix-all, right? I'm always referring people to doctors or naturopaths or, other types of coaches or therapists or, whoever. I'm always wanting to, I'm encouraging people to get support wherever they need it. And then also not to try to read a book or listen to one person's perspective on, this is the way to be successful. And then if it doesn't work for you, blame yourself. So right. Those are the things I see if people are trying to look at, one person or one system or whatever it is as the end all be all of like, this is how I should be. Anytime I hear someone say that, that's a red flag. Like I should be more successful. I should be doing this. I'm like, okay, so where are we missing a piece here about what works for you? And so yeah, I think that it is really important to have that mindset of getting support on all different sides for yourself.
Yeah, that's super smart. And I too, it breaks my heart too when people are hard on themselves, when they buy into like this one way that's like, this is it, this is how it is. And it's really a disservice because there are multiple ways and not everyone is wired the same. Not everyone has the same experiences. And so then they get down on themselves for really no reason. So it's great that like you're going to give a very custom recommendation, whether it's you helping them and saying, hey, let's try this hypnosis together, or saying, hey, go to this business coach or try the other thing. So that's really what we all really hope for when we reach out for support. So awesome sauce. So is there anything you'd like to invite the listeners to try maybe for the next couple of weeks or so?
Yes, I would love to. So I'm going to share just an exercise with everyone. And I think this is really helpful to tap into and get connected with ourselves, because we get so disconnected. That is something I see all of the time, because when we're little and we go to school, right? We're 6 years old, we're going to school. And what happens? It's like all of a sudden, if you have to go to the bathroom, if you're hungry, if you need a drink of water, whatever it is, it's like, nope, you got to wait for the bell. Nope, you got to wait for this. Nope, you got to wait for that. And so what I find is people really get disconnected from their inner selves and their intuition, and really taking their bodily cues. And we just override. Nope, I can't do this. Nope, I got to keep working. Nope, not time for that. And we get disconnected to the point where a lot of times we miss signals and symptoms, and we get disease in our bodies, or we have these breakdowns, and we get burnt out and we didn't even realize. that we were on the road to having these challenges. And so that is something that I am really huge on, is making sure that you get to know you and know how to tap in and know how to take a moment for yourself. And so this can be done in 1 minute. It's really easy, but it's what I call a finding feelings exercise. Okay. There's what I have found is that people don't take a moment and they don't breathe all day. They just go, 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 go. Right. And so what I like to do is tell people to take 3 mindful breaths. And when I say mindful breaths, what I mean is just be and notice your breathing, be in your body, take 3 nice mindful breaths. And so you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, really easy. I am a huge proponent of what I call 4, 7, and 8 breaths. A lot of people may have heard of that for, it's great for anxiety, for example, but it's breathing in for 4, holding for 7, and then releasing for a count of 8. And you can count as fast or as slow as you want. Doesn't matter. Just in through your nose and then hold and then out. Okay, so 4 in, hold for 7, out for 8. So I want everybody to do that. So take 3 nice breaths. And then when you're done, you're going to identify your feeling. Okay, but we're not going to make our feelings our identity. We're just going to identify what we're feeling. And so we're going to say, I am feeling this. So we're not going to say, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm frustrated, or I'm happy, because it really signals to yourself that that's not changing, that that's just who you are. So we don't want to take our emotions on as our identity. What we want to say is, I am feeling whatever it is. So it might be, I'm feeling a little anxious right now, or I'm feeling content, or I'm feeling on edge, whatever it is that you're feeling, you get to name that. And then what are you experiencing in your body? So I am feeling, and then I am experiencing. And so we do our 3 breaths, and then we answer those questions. You can say, I'm feeling stressed. I'm noticing, or I'm experiencing some tension in my shoulders, some tightness in my chest, a little bit of a headache, whatever it is for you. Okay. And then take 3 more mindful breaths again. In through your nose for 4, hold for 7, and then out for 8. And then see if that has shifted, and then decide if there's something you need right now that can help shift that. A lot of times you'll feel better just having named it, just having said it to yourself out loud. Right? And then if there's something you need, if you noticed or you were experiencing in your body that you were thirsty, or you needed to use the restroom, or you needed a snack, or you needed to stretch, maybe your back was tight and you need to stretch, then you can give that to yourself. But I would say, over these next couple of weeks, try that at least once a day. Just taking 1 minute to breathe, to just be in the present moment in your body, to name what you're feeling, to notice what you're experiencing, and then give yourself what you need to shift that if it was negative. And what can you give yourself in this moment? And I think that's a beautiful practice to just get used to, not overriding our feelings and our body's cues, and getting more in tune with ourselves and just be more mindful and present.
That's fantastic. That's great advice.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I know it's psychedupsuccess.com. We will put show notes in the episode show notes. Is there anywhere else that we could find you online, Instagram, or any of those good spots?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And we'll make sure to put them in the show notes. So if you go ahead and you go to psychedupsuccess.com, you can see all of my programs and how to work with me. You can also book a free 30-minute call to explore your options for support. I'd be happy to offer that to everyone. And then I'm also going to have you put the link in there for my guide to mastering mindfulness. So I just gave you 1 exercise, but I have another handful of them in that guide. And that is just guide.psychedupsuccess.com. And so then there are some more exercises that you can use to really connect with yourself and to connect with mindfulness. That awareness is that first step. And so if you're wanting something to help you to reduce stress and slow down and be more mindful and be more present. So we're not constantly going into autopilot all of the time, or if you're somebody dealing with anxiety or stress on a regular basis, which, let's face it, who isn't nowadays, right? We all have stress in our lives. It can be an amazing tool and resource for people. And so I'll make sure that you have the link for that as well. And yes, I am on Instagram. And that is Psyched Up Success as well on Instagram. So we'll put that in there. And then I have a free Facebook group. So if anyone is interested in joining that, I do free trainings on all different topics having to do with mindset and mental wellness. And that group, you can find it as Purpose, Passion, Path on Facebook.
I love it. Purpose, passion, path. But this is my Pomeranian alarm coming to say, time's just
time.
I teach class. He knows when to bark to say time for a break. If I class on time, he starts barking. I used to bring him to work with me, and we'd work, normal 8-hour day or whatever. And one day it was a half day. In the middle of the day, everyone's going home, and he's yelling at them. So
he's the hall monitor. I have one like that too. Yeah. Well, he is a wonderful work companion. So we love our fur babies.
I'll never go back to the office. There's no way.
A lot of people are resisting that now. Absolutely. And there's a good reason for it. Yeah. It, sometimes is so much more supportive of our mental wellness to be able to be home. And now some people need it. So everyone's different. Yes. But I also love working at home, and I love being able to work virtually with people all over the world. It is incredible for obviously being able to reach more people, but also to take care of myself too. Yes. I'm able to be at my best when I can take better care of myself and build in those breaks and do those things. And I get to do that working from home now, which I love.
Well, thank you so much. It was so great talking to you. We're going to put a lot of goodies up in the show notes. And till next time, everyone, have a good one.
This is lovely. Sunlight streaming, I'm better.